Hi everybody, and welcome to a Microsoft project. So the first thing we're going to do here to set up our project is we're going to get the program going, and we're going to put in our tasks. Okay, that's the very first thing we need to look at. So without further ado, let's launch ourselves into project. There we go. And usually when you're starting out, you're either going to start from a blank project, or you can actually use any of the templates that they might have for you. The only problem I think with the templates is that by the time you get them modified to fit your particular business, you might as well just start it from scratch. All right, but it is also a good idea maybe to look at some of these templates to get an idea of how certain types of projects in different areas of business are set up and planned. So it might not be a bad idea to do that. But for what we're going to be doing in this particular video, I want to show you guys how to start with just a blank project and put in all the tasks that you need to put in for it. So from here, I'm going to click on to where it says blank project, just like that. Now, what we're looking at here is something called the Gantt chart view. And the Gantt chart view is just one of many different ways that you can observe your project. Now, keep in mind that we have various number of menu choices up here, different ribbon tabs up here, and we're going to be focusing on those as we need them. I don't want to sit here in the beginning and describe each and everything that we have on our screens and in the menu. I think it's better if we just tackle each of those things as they come to us, as we need them, and kind of go from there. Initially, what we need to do is figure out what our tasks are going to be that make up our project. In other words, the project, whatever it is for you, is broken down into a number of different tasks or things that need to get done in order to complete the project overall. What's going to happen is, as we put in each of our tasks by name here, you're going to see those listed there. You're going to see dates popping up here, and you're going to see what is called a Gantt bar, which is like a horizontal bar representing the length and time, in this case in days, that each of these tasks are going to take to do. Now, before we go about putting the task in there, there's one little thing that you need to do initially, and once you do this for this project, it'll be set that way for all additional projects that you do in the future. And that is, if you look at the bottom here, it says the new tasks are going to be entered in manually. Now, manual scheduling is not the way to go in this program, in my opinion, okay? So make sure that anytime that you start your project, that you're going to be scheduling it automatically. In other words, your tasks are going to go in there and be automatically scheduled. It can be auto-scheduled, as they call it. If you leave it in manual, what's going to end up happening is your bars are not going to align and position themselves properly, as well as the dates and so forth for your project, or for each of your tasks, because they're in that mode, and it really does not fare very well in the long run. So what we need to do is go into the File tab, go down into Options, all right, and then go into Schedule. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that our new tasks for basically the project are auto-scheduled. And we really want to make sure that not only just for this particular project that doesn't really have a name yet, just Project 1, but for all new projects. So all new projects need to be done automatically scheduled with the tasks. Now, once you've got that set, then all you have to do is hit OK, and what you'll see is it'll change down here at the bottom. It'll say auto scheduled. Now, what we need to do is figure out what our tasks are going to be, and we need to put them in one after the other, pretty much in chronological order. What I suggest, though, is that you start out with trying to figure out what are like the phases of your project. In other words, if you were to think about your project as a whole, can you break it down into groups of tasks that you're going to have to take care of? All right. And so you kind of think of that. It'd be almost like if you're building a house, okay? You've got different phases. You've got pretty much, you know, putting in the foundation after you've done the excavation and so forth. So excavating and doing the foundation, that might be one phase. And then putting in the framing for the house, that might be your second phase and so forth. So that kind of thing. So you kind of think about what your project is. Think of all, I mean, you might not be able to think of all the tasks right off the bat, right away, but at least you'll be able to figure out what are the major parts of the major phases of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here with task name here, the very first one there, and I'm going to type in this case, phase, and then maybe a hyphen 1. Okay, so like phase 1. All right, and then I'll hit the enter key. And because we're initially entering this in as a task, it's going in and saying, well, it's basically a one-day task until we change to something else. And then over here we have the start and finish, which is just, you know, today's date, and then you know, then through today's date, because it's one day. And then you'll see over here the Gantt bar that is representing that one day. Now, what happens normally is whenever you start creating your project, whatever that day is, that'll be the start date of your project. Now, we can later on change that, so don't worry about that. So it has to start on some date, and it just does it for the current date. After we get our project all put together, then we can kind of go in there and change when we want that project to actually start, and then everything will shift over. You'll see it's a very, very cool thing. And as you're doing this as well, you can, just like in Excel, you can actually make these columns wider so you can actually see all the data there. So you can always do a double click on that and make that happen. All right, so we're going to put in the rest of the phases. So my project that I'm about to do here is going to be broken down into 5 different phases. So we're just going to keep it real general. We'll call the next one phase 2, and then we'll do a phase 3, and then a phase 4, and lastly a phase 5, just like that. So what we've done so far is we've kind of broken down our project into 5 major groups of things that need to get done. 5 major groups of tasks is what it's going to be. So these will end up being headings for our regular task as we go along here. Now, another thing that we have to think about too is that in each of these phases there might be more groupings of tasks. In other words, we might have task within task within tasks, basically, right? Meaning in these groups. So what we're going to have to do is come up also now and put in those maybe sub-phases, let's say, right? Now, in the case of phase 1, we have 2 additional phases within that called alpha and delta. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go back to that row right there, right? And on your keyboard, you can hit the insert key a couple times, and that will insert new rows there. So that's a very easy way to do it. You can go up here to the task tab and go ahead and click on to inserting a new task there, but that's a little bit too much work. It's easier just to go in there, hit your insert key, it pushes everything down and goes from there. So the first one we're going to be putting in here is going to be alpha, and the next one is going to be delta, just like that. All right. Now for phase 2, it has 2 tasks as well. So we're going to go here to phase 2. Actually, we're going to go on to phase 3 there. Hit the insert key a couple times, just like that. And then we're going to put in there gamma. And then we're also going to be putting in there epsilon. Just like that. Now phase 3 is just going to have one in there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit insert on 4. That'll push that down. And then we can put in there sigma. There we go. And then for phase 4, we have 2 of them here. So we'll go ahead and hit insert on number 5 here a couple times. And this is going to be beta and omega. So beta and then omega, just like that. Now phase 5, and here we're just going to be putting these underneath here. We're going to have 2. One's going to be called kappa, and the other one is going to be called lambda. All right. So keep in mind that these are just your phases, basically. We're going to fill it in with tasks next, but these are all, for the most part, in chronological order. In other words, this is kind of like towards the beginning of the project, and this is towards the end of the project. You don't want to mix them up like that. You might have to have a few that might be out of place only because you want to keep them in the group or not keep them in a group, and therefore you'd have to kind of, you know, have it reversed a little bit. But overall, you want to keep these going from new, or from present to future, I guess, right? So from the beginning to the end of the project, right? Now let's look at the tasks that we're going to be putting in. Phase 1 is pretty much going to be our, what we call a summary task. It's going to be like our heading. And then it's going to be the heading for alpha and delta. But then alpha and delta are also going to be headings for specific tasks. All right, so that's how it's going to be laid out. Now, if you want to make it a little bit easier to see here, what we could do maybe is go to phase 2, do an insert there, and go to phase 3 and do an insert there. Same thing with 4 as well as 5. So at least you get a sense of, okay, I got five groups here. It's not getting too overwhelming visually. All right. Now the next thing is we're going to put the tasks that make up alpha, and these are going to be, we're going to put 4 different tasks in there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the insert key 1 time, 2, 3, 4 times, just like that. And the first one is going to be task AA. Next one is going to be task BB. I'm sorry, messed that up. AB. Okay. Next one is going to be task. And then that's going to be AC. And then we're also going to have task AD, just like that. Now I'm going to go ahead and insert there as well to have like a little gap in there. And then, well, maybe, I don't know, maybe, I don't think we'll do that. So to get rid of that, all I have to do is I just do a right click over here on the side there, tell it to delete the task, and that'll get rid of it just like that. All right. Now for delta, we're going to have 3 tasks. So we're going to go ahead and hit the insert key 1, 2, 3 times. And here we're going to put in there for the task, this is going to be it's going to be a task. Okay, now we're going to have a BA. And then for this one, we'll have task BB and task CC, or BC, sorry. All right. So that finishes up the tasks for phase 1. Now all we have to do is phase 2. And just to kind of speed it up here a little bit, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to type in all the items, and then I'll resume it. And that way you don't have to sit here and fall asleep watching me type, because I'm not the best typist. So abracadabra, and there we go. Look at that. I type so fast. All right, so there we go. So now I've got all my phases in there, my subphases, and my tasks. So that's a good starting point. So that's the first thing that you want to sit down and do when you're doing your own project, is get this stuff in first. Okay. Don't worry about the dates or anything like that. Don't worry about the durations. Just get them in the groups that they need to be, and in chronological order, okay, as we go down there. So the last task that we're going to be doing is going to be down here on row 62 so far, all right, which we also call task 62 as well. All right, so that's it for now. We'll see you in the next video.